Well, we're in it now. So, being a mechanic, turns out you got to work on your own stuff, which really sucks the life out of you. And now we're doing new cars, which is not my specialty. But today's project, 2010 Ford Edge water pump. Most of you guys are already cringing, I understand. Water pump on this runs off of the timing, which means you got to pull about half the car apart to get to it. If you have a lift, you can drop subframe out, and then it's right there in your chest, and you can just do everything. I don't have that. So, this particular one's 3.5, non-turboed. I've already dove in a little bit, pulled the air filter and all that off. Never mind the battery corrosion. But everything we're going to be doing is right down in here. So that's probably coming out. That's out. That's out. Right now we're just draining everything. We're pulling lines off to get access. Down here you got wheel off. You do have quite a bit of access through here. Once you're going to pull all of this inner fender out. But yeah, as I progress, I will keep everybody updated. Well, day 2. Oh boy. So, this is where we're at. Everything intake or plenum, whatever you want to call it, that is now off. I just pulled the valve cover and pull the other side off. Motor mount's got to come off. That's all right here. So far, alternator is going to stay on. Air conditioning compressor will stay on. This particular model has a power steering pump, and I think it's the next generation of Ford Edge. They switched to electric steering, which is probably the way to go, because that power steering pump is a devil to get to. If we go down here, I believe it was 3 bolts. This was all of yesterday. And you can only see, oh, get in there. There's our pulley. I've got it sitting sideways now, but all the bolts go in this way, so the head of the bolt's facing firewall. The 2 of them I got from the bottom, and I had a whole bunch of extensions going up through to reach it. I don't know how I'm going to get it back in, but that's what we're gonna do. That. The other one I had to get from the top, reach clear over. It was all by I had help. One person was spotting while I was blindly looking, reaching down through there. But it's doable. You don't have to pull this motor or pull the subframe, although I'm thinking that'd be way easier. All the wire harnesses you unplug. We've got them draped over to the side. The next step is I've got a jack underneath the oil pan of this, a block of wood in between. We're just going to go up and down, up and down. We're going to start pulling all these cover bolts off. I got to finish pulling this piece off. Aside from that, I've got my kit has these small chains, has this chain as well. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to leave this chain and just change out guides. Definitely changing that chain. And and all the tensioners, of course. And while you're in here, make sure you're doing spark plugs, because I didn't even think about that. This car's got 130,000 on it. Look at the gap on that. That is, if I can get my camera to focus. There's a huge gap. These are original plugs though, these are Motorcrafts. But I'm going to slap some NGKs back in it. I tend to like those. I'm sure others will disagree. Not a bad plug. They're like $9 a piece. I can't believe the price of plugs anymore. That's alright. It's alright. Gotta get her done. I did not drain the oil on this. I did drain coolant. I'm thinking I'm gonna dump a bunch. I haven't found a spot to drain the engine block of coolant. So it's gonna just dump everywhere. So I think when that all jumps down into my pan, I'll just let it sit there, and then once everything's going back together, I'll drain my oil. All that water should be on the bottom, and let the oil flush it out. That's my theory. That's what I'm sticking with. But yeah, I did pull all the reservoirs out on this side. I've got some cleaning to do. Once you spend an entire day taking all this apart, there's actually quite a bit of room in here. So that's nice. But there's a tensioner belt, or belt tensioner. I've got that pulled off. Just trying to think of everything I did yesterday. Yeah, so we'll keep at it. Once we get to water pump, I'll get in there and show you again. You may be asking the question, why are we even doing this? Well, now that we've got this front cover off, which, by the way, there's several bolts which I recommend charting your bolts, because most of these lower ones are all about the same length. You get up into here, those are all longer, a couple of different sizes, but they're also pretty close. They're all 10 millimeters. If you got an electric ratchet, boy, that'll help you a lot. I don't. But anyway, you get down in here, where this bar is our water pump, and if we bend that just a little bit, you can see that play. That's where our problem is, the water pump bearing. I've been told, which I would agree with, you can see that angle, how it goes down around. That's such a tight angle, it wears out those bearings in these. But you can, at least from where I'm at, you can see that pulley is sitting on an angle, or that gear. I imagine once we pull the tension off that chain, that thing's just going to rattle back and forth. But unfortunately, that's worth every bit of time. Oh, you got a new one here? Yeah, with the new one in there, that should be rock solid. Well, there we go. That ain't so bad. You may ask, what is the whole purpose of this? How'd you know your water pump was going out? Well, it just leaks, to be honest with you. Here's the old water pump. There's a channel right there. That will leak, and it runs through a channel inside the motor, and from there, it just leaks out, kind of by like your air conditioner compressor. It's bizarre, but and when I started, I let this sit for probably a week and a half. And then I noticed when I started up initially, I had a little bit of valve train rattle, which you get right on startup. But after that, I heard more rattling. And that was coming all from water pump, which you can see. That is extreme. Oh yeah, that's terrible. So we were minutes away from losing it. But also these are double sealed. You can see there goes around. They'll stick to the block, and just make sure all the surface of the new one, that your surface of the other block is good to go. Make sure everything's clean, scraped off, and pre-cleaned. Well, we're going back together now. Just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of the process of once you get your front cover off, kind of what we were doing. You're going to pull VVT solenoids off. There are 3 bolts down there. Pull those off. There is a tensioner. Let me grab a light. Hold. There we go. Got a tensioner. It is down here. These 2 bolts hold that on. That will relieve your pressure. You can just slide your chain off. As far as alignment, you don't have to worry about top dead center or what stroke you're on. But you do want to do your timing marks. So you see the notch, you'll see the dot right there, should be along with your pin. This one's going to be 1 o'clock. You're going to put this one at 11 o'clock. We'll go down to, oh boy, go down here. I have moved this a little bit. There's a little dot right there. That's going to be at 4 o'clock. And from there you can pull all of that off. And then you just put, when I put it back on, I start crank, work my way up this side, and start going around like that. But then yeah, you just go back on. We did pull the solenoid out of here, clean that out so the screens aren't plugged. Aside from that, we were using cam locks, wherever those went. Once you get everything clocked, you put that on, and it'll go in your notches here. That'll help keep everything still. You don't necessarily have to use that. In fact, I pulled, when I was putting my chain on, once I got around here, I was one tooth off of this, so I went ahead and pulled the cam lock off, gave this just a little rotation to get it on there, and then put pressure back on it, and we got it all together. But yeah, so far so good going back together. I'll try and get a little more footage of the assembly side of it, but it's slow going. The real trick right now is we got to clean the front cover up, and I got to put sealant on it, and I got to negotiate it past this hose, but also the edge of it is going to hit right here. It's a bit of a booger, but we'll get her on. Well, we're back together now. I planned on recording a lot more of going back together, but I didn't want to really film myself screaming profanity and crying all at the same time, so I'm just going to kind of give you a rundown of everything we did. So let me kind of go through the sequence. Right now I'm just kind of getting all the air out of my cooling system, but after you change all your timing stuff, all your guides, your front cover goes back on. And that is a glue fit, so that all goes back on, and then you just start. I did put my motor mounts in there. There's an upper half, a lower half. My kit I got came with all new seals. You can kind of see the blue right there. That blue is steel that goes in the valve covers. There are seals that go under here that are difficult to get to. I gapped and anti-seize on my spark plugs. I got all that in. Honestly, it didn't take much time at all to go back together. The biggest problem I had going back together, if we go down here, see if I can get my hand in here, is that stupid power steering pump, which is right back there. I got it in just fine, but man, that is a stretch to fit belt, and boy was that a dickens to go back together. We've got some alignment tools. You got those alignment tools handy? Sure. There is an on and off with the removal tool. There's one that I had that's aluminum. They're both in one. Put that on, and it was too wide to fit between, we'll call it the frame rail and the pulley. So I couldn't use that, so we use a plastic one to remove it with. When I went to go back on, I used the install tool and literally scissored that tool in half. It's so tight. So what we ended up using was, you can clock that power steering pulley. There's a hole in it, several holes. We put a hose clamp on that, and then got a pry bar and kind of pushed on the hose clamp as I rotated it around with a pry bar. I got her to pop on, and then you just wind it back, take your hose clamp off. That seemed like the best way because it's just too hard to get in there. But so that's the kit. That's the kit we bought. There's our removal tool, and then there's that one there. It's just, that pulley just scissored it right off. This is the second set that I've used where I've scissored off that install with a stupid stretch fit belt, but And then this is the other tool, the aluminum one. There's a removal on this side. There is a magnet right there, and we made a sad attempt to modify this one, but needed to get a little more of a ramp on it. But same idea, install, remove. As far as the rest of this goes, there's like on power steering pump, this green wire, this is spade connector, it goes back there, everything else plugs right in. It's actually pretty simple, just super time consuming. But right now we're just checking for leaks, which it would have leaked by now, but just going through all our functions tests. Just a quick update. Car's done. It's been actually a couple weeks now. I'm pretty happy. Everything turned out just fine. I didn't have any issues. Yeah, car works great. So thanks everybody for watching. If you got any questions, just message, comment below. Hit subscribe if you feel like it. And thanks for watching.